Hello friends, my name is Colin and today I'm going to be installing this Hepco and Becker skid plate on my 2021 Harley-Davidson Pan America Special. I'm going to tell you why I think this one is better than the Harley one. If you don't know about Hepco and Becker, they've been around since the early 80s and it was started by one dude in Germany. Now fast forward 40 or so years later and they're one of the largest aftermarket suppliers in the motorcycle industry. And they have parts for over 1,000 models from multiple manufacturers. And I actually have one of their products already on this bike. It's this side stand enlarger. Now, there is a company based in Sterling, Virginia that is the exclusive importer and distributor for Hepco and Becker in the good old US of A. And that company is called Moto Machines. And Moto Machines not only carry Hepco and Becker products, but multiple other brands for a ton of different motorcycles and models. And Moto Machines started about 10 years ago and has really grown to be a solid company in the motorcycle industry. They've been great with me on questions regarding the skid plate. Let me tell you the differences between the Hepco and Becker one and the Harley-Davidson skid plate. And honestly, the look of them are pretty similar. Now the stock one, which is this thing right here, should not exist. This is the one that actually came with the bike. So what I did is I actually upgraded last year to this optional Harley skid plate. And it has a good look and it seems to do its job. I mean, I've been on dirt and a bunch of debris several times with this bike and it's done its job. I mean, I'm happy about the protection it gives underneath the bike. But, and there's a big but, there's one thing I really don't like about the design of this one. It's attached right to the underside of the bike and directly to the engine. And that's where this Hepco and Becker one stands out. It has a separate mounting plate, that's this one right here, that attaches to the engine, and then the skid plate attaches to that plate. The mounting plate kind of ends up being like a shock absorber, which I like. Now both are made with aluminum and they weigh pretty close to the same. I think this one's around 8.5 and this one's 9 pounds, so it's not a huge difference. And both are designed where you can still access the oil filter, and they're also designed where you can still have engine guards. I think from a price standpoint, there's not that big of a difference. The Hepco and Becker one is $364, and this one was $378. And both are solidly made, and they look pretty cool in my opinion. As for the Hepco and Becker one, it's 3 to 4 millimeters thick, and I like the design of the vents all the way around, especially right here, the front one. It's kind of like a solid wall. So it's really hard for like a rock or a stick to get in here, even though it's vented. Whereas the Harley one right here, it's a lot more open. It's open on kind of both on the bottom side and on the top side. So if you're riding, a little stick would get in there. That really wouldn't happen as much with this one. I do like that the Harley one is a little longer in the back, which gives a little bit more protection, but in my opinion, it's not a huge deal. I think it's ballpark, maybe like 4 to 5 inches more, man math there. It covers up a little bit more of your pipe, but not significant. This comes with the actual skid plate. This is the mounting plate that goes directly to the engine. This doesn't. And then you have hardware that they included. And the only tools you're really gonna need for this is a ratchet right here, a Torx 40 bit and a Hex 5 bit. And then obviously I recommend putting some Loctite for all the screws. Even though I'm going to show you on the bike, I want to just give you an overall view of how this is going to work. So this, with the mounting plate, how this is going to work is you're going to take the existing Torx 40s that are already part of the bike. There's 6 total, but for this one we're going to use 4 on here. And they have these little spacers right here that come with the kit. There's 4 small ones and then there's 2 larger ones. So what'll happen is this will go right there and then the Torx 40 will go underneath it and we'll attach that. And then the next step we do is we take these thicker ones right here and then you use the other 2 remaining OEM Torx 40s and that's going to attach this to the front of the bike. And then after that we're going to take the remaining 6 right here and that's where you're going to use your Hex 5, and with a washer that's going to attach this skid plate to the mounting plate. So let me get under the bike and I'll show you how this is done. To kind of get your bearings here, this is the front of the bike and this is the back of the bike. So we are underneath right now, and your first step is you want to remove these 4 Torx 40s. And these are what attaches like the existing skid plate. So if you have the Harley OEM one, the one that we don't like, or the optional skid plate, there's 4 of these that you have to take off. So once you take those off, that's where this comes in, this mounting plate right here. And you want to put it, best way to do it is like the big circle right here. Hopefully that'll come out. That's towards the front. And then you're going to have 4 holes. And you're going to take those same T40s that I just took off, and then there's a spacer. And this is a thin spacer. Like I said, there's 2 types of spacers. There's a thick one and a thin one. There's 4 of these. You want to take this and put it actually on top. And this is going to be a pain in the butt doing with one hand. And don't forget, you do need to put Loctite, but I'm just showing you guys this as a demonstration. So then you put it through here, and then you hook it to inside here, and that's all you got to do. So do that 4 different times in each hole, and then do them loose, and then once you're happy, you get everything lined up, and then just tighten them down, and then we'll go to the next step. I'm going to take off my glove because I got Loctite all over it. I got to get a new one. So I put all 4 of these in, the T40s, and then I just ratchet them down, and I just have one last one to do. Let's see here, tighten that up a little bit more. There we go. And then I'm happy with all of these. I already tightened down all these, got the Loctite on it. Next step now is to put skid plate on. You should have 2 remaining T40s left, and that's gonna install this skid plate right here to these 2 front, one on the right, one on the left. And this is kind of a pain in the ass, to be honest with you. So what I found, and I know you can't really see it on camera, but I've got my foot holding, or my leg holding the skid plate up, and then what I'll do, and I'll throw some stuff on here in just a second. There we go. I stick this to get started like this. And then while I'm doing that, you have to get it lined up from the other side. And then you just put it in the hole and tighten it up. And then you want to leave these loose. So once you do one side, leave them loose, and go to the other side, do the exact same thing. But do not over tighten these right now, because you're going to need that on the next step, because there's a little play. And it's tight to get this actual skid plate mounted to the mounting plate. And if you tighten these down, you won't get it. So if you leave it loose, then it'll definitely go in without a problem. This is the fillister screw, and there's 6 of those that attach the skid plate to the mounting plate. And I will tell you, this can get a little tricky. So remember I mentioned earlier about leaving the 2 front Torx on the front of the skid plate loose, and there's a reason for that, because this is a very tight fit. So good tip here, what I did is I started one, I had to move this around, so it had a little play in it, and once I got one started and tightened a little bit, it pulled the others in place. And then once I did that, you just take all of them and hand screw them in, then ratchet them down with the hex here, and I'll just get it started with this, and then I'll finish this off, tighten it down, and the only last step I have to do is tighten up the 2 Torx on the front of the skid plate, and we're done. So let's check this thing out. I really like this look. It's similar to the Harley one, but I like this design more, especially with the mounting plate. Make sure you check out Moto Machines, and I'll leave the link in the description for you. Now let me know what you think of the skid plate. As always, I appreciate you taking the time to watch. Now get out there and ride. Be well, and I'll talk to you guys soon.